So now we'll talk a little bit about code and heat pump water heater installation information. Just to be clear, when we're talking about code, this is not a code class. We're not doing a deep dive into the plumbing code or the electric code or the building code. What we did want to highlight is potential code intersections with FEMA requirements. So if you are installing an electric water heater of any sort and it's going to be in a floodplain that's been identified by FEMA, you'll want to make sure that you confirm with the manufacturer that either the water heater can be safely inundated with flood water up to the height of the base flood elevation, or you'll need to elevate that water heater.
And that would apply with a gas water heater as well.
Yes.
For sure.
Yep, that's true.
Location selection is very important with heat pump water heaters. And there may be homes where there legitimately isn't a good spot to install one. If it's a smaller house and they've perhaps hidden what we would call a low boy electric heater, which are only about 3 feet tall, in a cabinet in the kitchen, you may not find somewhere that's appropriate to install one of these larger heat pump water heaters. As we discussed, there are heat pump water heaters where you can have a separate condensing unit that's separate from the storage tank, where you have a box out in the yard, but they do cost quite a bit more. Heat pump water heaters are heavier, so you want to make sure that the floor can support the added weight or make adjustments. If you have any concerns about proper installation, you can always look to some good references online, and this slide shows something from NREL's standardized work specifications. To select the best location for the heat pump water heater, determine its interaction between the heating and cooling equipment for the home. So you're asking, where does the space around the water heater get its heat? Should the unit be placed in conditioned space, semi or unconditioned space, maybe an attached garage? In hot climates, heat pump water heaters offer a net cooling benefit, while in cold climates, they will cool the area around it, which might be considered a penalty. Generally, homes in climates 1 and 2 offer this very valuable net cooling benefit. For climate zones 1 and 2, installation in an attached garage or conditioned space may be appropriate. Heat pump water heaters will not operate efficiently in a cold space since they tend to cool the space they are in. Installing them in a space with excess heat, such as a furnace room, will increase their efficiency. Adequate volume of air around the heat pump water heater is critical. Each manufacturer will have acceptable installation scenarios. Here's one example. In the first, we see the water heater installed in a room with a solid door. So long as that room has 700 cubic feet of air, this works. The next image shows an example with the volume of air less than 700 cubic feet, so a fully louvered door is needed. Essentially, this connects that room to the other and provides additional space from which the water heater can harvest heat. Next, we have a couple of scenarios that show ducting. Here we see a couple of scenarios that provide ducting to the heat pump water heater. In this example, the cold air being exhausted from the heat pump can be sent to another room or to outside the building. On the left, we see just the exhaust side hooked up. And on the right, we can see where there's also an intake duct where that water heater may be pulling in its air and essentially its heat source from another room or from outside.